Three. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another FilmBrony podcast. I'm of course your shoot. Sorry. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another FilmBrony podcast. This is episode 15, and this is another two-parter in a special edition because today, with the worst out of the way, and tonight we're going to be presenting our 10 best movies that Soren and I saw in 2020. So this is the reason why this is going to be another special edition to this podcast. And of course, I'm not alone. I have two of my friends with me joining this podcast. And would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
My name is Christian Frates, and I'm an aspiring voice actor and writer with autism.
I'm FilmBrony here, aka Boy Thunder Productions, as known on YouTube.
Nice. We're gonna. So yeah, FilmBrony right here. It is the creator of the podcast. So we're gonna get started with our usual stuff, and then we'll save the best films of 2020 for last. So anyway, Soren, floor's all yours.
Okay. Now, as with the previous episodes, I got a shit ton of Blu-rays to go over, and I'm not gonna go for every single one of them in detail. Otherwise, we'd be here all night. Anyways, first up on the list, Ace Ventura 1 and 2.
Alrighty then.
Adaptation.
I love that movie.
Alice in Wonderland, the animated classic.
That's a great one.
All 4 Batman movies from the 80s and 90s.
Nice.
There's going to be a comic book adaptation which ignores the Schumacher ones.
Next, I have Brother Bear and Brother Bear 2.
Nice.
The Burbs. Coal Miner's Daughter.
That's a great movie. Sissy Spacek is so good in that film.
Dallas Buyers Club.
One of the best films of 2013, and Matthew McConaughey is so good in it.
Dick Tracy.
Nice.
Do the Right Thing in this limited Target exclusive Steelbook.
Spike Lee's masterpiece.
Dreamgirls.
Great movie.
Next, I have a double feature, Hobbs and Shaw and Skyscraper.
Nice.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Nice.
Fruitvale Station.
Great movie.
Hannah and Her Sisters.
One of Woody Allen's best.
Hook.
Very underrated.
The Hunt. Not the 2020 movie, mind you. That would be this one.
Right.
Well, Homestar Runner co-creator Craig Zobel directed that one.
Right.
Next, I have The Color of Money.
I also have what a coincidence. I also have The Color of Money. It's in a different format, but here it is.
Next, I have Jackie.
Nice. The great movie.
The King of Comedy.
Great movie too.
A League of Our Own and The Natural.
Both great movies.
The Maltese Falcon.
Nice.
Marriage Story.
Great movie. Definitely want to know what Bombat's best.
Moonlight.
My favorite movie of 2016, and such a great movie.
Next, I have an underrated gem here, Mouse Hunt.
We'll find that mouse, Pumbaa.
Next is a movie that I know not all people exactly love, but I liked it for what it was. Milan 2020.
Nice.
Muppets from Space.
Sweet.
Natural Born Killers. Any Given Sunday. And JFK Director's Cut. The Nutty Professor, the original Jerry Lewis classic.
That's also a great one.
Again, I know a lot of people don't love this, but I personally really dug it. Out of Africa.
Nice.
Ray. Scott
Ray,
Pilgrim,
that's a great movie.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Also a great movie.
The Searchers, The Wild Bunch, and How the West Was Won.
Nice.
Signs.
Great movie.
Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron. The first 3 Spy Kids movies. The Sting. Tarzan. Tenet. A Time to Kill, The Pelican Brief, and The Client. Total Recall, the original. Traffic. And last but not least, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
And here are the Blu-rays that I have gotten. I've gotten $1 Million Arm, Skyscraper.
Pretty ironic. We also got we both got Skyscraper.
Sorry about that.
And here's what I also got for my birthday, Talking Strong Bad. Alright, folks, that's a strong bad. And I also got Majin Buu.
And I guess that's it for our Blu-ray showcase. Now, originally for this retrospective, we were supposed to end this retrospective here, but then I realized that there was a lot more movies than I thought. So I figured we'd do some here from Iron Man to Fantastic, and then next episode we'll do the rest from Deadpool, from the first Deadpool to the New Mutants. So with all that said, this is part 2 of our official Marvel movie retrospective. Now the first one is Iron Man, the one that started it all.
In my opinion, that's my personal favorite of the MCU.
That's one of my favorites.
I can see that. RDJ really if it weren't for this movie, then RDJ wouldn't have a career anymore. Though then again, he would still get nominated for Tropic Thunder that year, but whatever.
Yeah, he did have a good year that year in 2008, so with those films.
And that very end where he gave away his secret identity was unscripted.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, next up is The Incredible Hulk. Now, like I said, previously with the Ang Lee's Hulk. It's a lot of people say that this is way better than that movie, but for me, it's kind of like apples and oranges for me because at the core, two very different movies. That movie being a dark, realistic origin story, and this one being a beat 'em up monster film.
Yeah.
Next
The
up
only
is
time Edward Norton got to return as Bruce Banner was for the tie-in video game.
Oh yeah.
Next up is the final Punisher movie before referring back to Netflix and Marvel, Punisher Warzone. To be honest, I'm kind of conflicted with this one. I mean, it is hyper-violent, the villain's a bit over the top, and there are some weird sequences. And depending on the person, that could either be a good thing or a bad thing. Personally, I still think the 2004 one with Thomas Jane is hands down the best of the trilogy. Next we have the only 2009 Marvel movie, and the movie that X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oh my god.
While I don't hate this movie as much as most people, I will agree that it's pretty mediocre compared to the other ones, especially with the effects with the claws. They seriously looked like something out of Roger Rabbit, and Barakapool. Enough said.
Well,
Yeah, really.
I think the video game is better.
I've heard.
I heard.
Not to mention, James Mangold used the video game as an inspiration for Logan.
I can see that.
I could definitely see how he did that.
Next up is the weakest movie of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Iron Man 2. Again, I don't hate this one. I think it's pretty decent, but the biggest problem with this movie is it's pretty much a 2-hour Avengers trailer. But what does save this movie is, of course, RDJ and the two new villains, Sam Rockwell and Mickey Rourke.
Nice.
Next up is Thor, the original Thor. This was this is a really good movie, minus some weird Dutch angles. Seriously, what do you think this is, Battlefield Earth? But all the actors are really good, especially what's his name for Loki? His name
Tom Hiddleston.
Yes, Tom Hiddleston. Thanks. He steals the show hands down.
He does.
Next, we have X-Men First Class. Well, again, not exactly perfect. It's still way better than X-Men Origins and The Last Stand, and the one that pretty much saved the X-Men movie franchise.
It was originally going to be called X-Men Origins Magneto.
Yeah, I've heard.
I heard about that too.
And reportedly, Ian McKellen was supposed to play Magneto both as an old man and as a younger person through de-aging. But following Wolverine's bombing, Fox decided to retool it as X-Men First Class, as we see. Next, we have Captain America: The First Avenger. I really dug this one.
So did I.
Hugo Weaving did a great job as the Red Skull.
He did.
Mm-hmm. He did.
Next up is a movie that not a lot of people are fans of, but personally, I think it's a guilty pleasure. Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance.
Not the fire! Not the fire!
Personally, I do I find this movie a guilty pleasure because it's really fun seeing Ghost Rider going around killing people, especially with the scene where he goes into that heavy machine and beats the shit out of the bad guys.
And he goes blue.
Yeah. Next, we have the culmination of 5 of the previously mentioned movies, The Avengers, not to be confused with the 1998 one with Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Loki was a promising villain.
He was.
Yeah.
And you were
they
saying?
had an effective teaser for the rest of the series with Thanos making a cameo.
Mm-hmm.
But he was played by a different actor. Damon Poitier played Thanos.
Next up is the reboot that people either love or hate, The Amazing Spider-Man. Personally, I love this one.
I really enjoyed that one too.
I think it's more accurate to the comic books than the Raimi trilogy.
Yeah, because of the
web shooters.
Yeah.
And that Peter Parker is a jokester.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why I really dug this movie is because instead of being a carbon copy of Sam Raimi's movies, this one takes it in its own direction. And I really appreciate it for that. Now for Iron Man, for this next one, Iron Man 3, again, people either love it or hate it, but I really enjoyed this one because it took a more serious turn than the previous 2 movies directed by Jon Favreau. This one being directed by Shane Black. Before he
At least he did The Nice Guys in between.
That's great. That's a great movie.
It is.
Yeah,
now,
one thing that people had a problem with was the Mandarin's identity.
I was going to mention that. Personally, I find it really hilarious, especially since Ben Kingsley did such a excellent job.
Yes, and they were able to fix some of the issues with the All Hail the King short and eventually the Shang-Chi film.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Next, we have The Wolverine. Definitely better than the previous Wolverine movie, though not as good as we'll get to that next episode.
Well, it has an unrated cut, and it's more violent.
I've heard. Now, my big problem with this movie is the third act isn't really as strong as the previous 2, but it's still really fun. Especially since the teaser at the end credits for Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Next, we have Thor: The Dark World. People either love or hate this movie. For me, it's kind of weak, but still decent. Both Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston still kill it as Thor and Loki.
It was actually the executives that wanted more screen time of Loki than of Malekith.
I can see that, because Malekith is easily the least developed of the Marvel villains.
Yeah, but unfortunately, robbing a character of its screen time can make it underdeveloped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just analytical.
Right.
Next up is the Russo brothers' entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
That's a very good one.
Yeah, you thought the first Captain America was really good. This one takes it in a whole different level. The way that the Russos direct these action sequences is just unfucking believable.
It is.
I also like that too, and they snuck in the teaser for Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
So did I.
And then we get The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh my god.
It was Sony's fault. They cut out scenes and roles.
Yeah, and you know what's even worse? You know what's even worse? So funny that you mentioned Sony, Christian. They were also responsible for the last trailer that they dropped before the movie came out, which literally spoiled the whole film.
Yeah, especially the it's bad when the final shot of the trailer is the final shot of the movie. That's right, they pull an apparition.
Yeah.
Of course, Amazing Spider-Man 2 isn't nearly as bad as the apparition, but still.
Oh no. Right.
Next,
And they did that with Good Boys, and Universal did that with Good Boys.
next we have X-Men: Days of Future Past. Fox's answer to the Avengers, kinda, sorta.
That's very good. They
It's a
have
great
Baroque
movie.
cut.
Yeah, and that Quicksilver scene, man.
If I could play
Yeah.
time.
You know,
that was awesome.
You know that Evan Peters did such a good job in this movie. When WandaVision spoilers, I don't want to spoil it too much. I pretty much spoiled it, didn't I? Anyways,
Okay.
next movie is Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, when we all saw the trailer, we were like, "What the fuck?"
For me, I didn't think it would be bad. For me, when I saw the trailer, I was like, yo, this is going to be awesome.
Now, I didn't think it was going to be bad because I still had faith in Marvel. I still gave them the benefit of the doubt. And when I saw the movie, man, it shattered my expectations.
Yeah, it was great. Definitely one of the best in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
It helps it's from the writer of Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed, Slither, and Super.
Mm-hmm. And the upcoming Suicide Squad sequel reboot thingy.
Right.
Which may or may not be canon to the Snyderverse.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I know a lot of you people may not count it as a Marvel film since it's technically a Disney film, but I figured I just mention it briefly, just for the heck of it. Big Hero 6. While not exactly one of Disney's best, it's still a really fun movie, and Baymax does steal every nanosecond he's on screen.
Yeah.
In the cartoon, he kind of looks like Strong Sad.
Yeah. Now, personally, best animated feature, I don't know. There was also How to Train Your Dragon 2 that year, and of course the one that got snubbed, the Lego Movie.
That should have won, and that should have been nominated, but no, the Oscars were just like, oh, what's this? Five minutes of like live action footage? Forget it. We're gonna cut that out. We're gonna snub it. Dicks.
Which is pretty hypocritical since both Happy Feet and Wall-E had live action scenes in it, and they won the Oscar too.
Yeah, really. Dicks.
Next up is Avengers: Age of Ultron. Again, pretty polarizing, but personally, I think it's better than the Avengers. I don't know, something about the dark take and the villain Ultron just made me appreciate this movie more than the first one. Not to say the first one is bad; it's fucking fantastic. But for me personally, Age of Ultron might be a tiny bit better.
Since I'm an Office fan, I just can't unhear Robert California, the Lizard King, as Ultron.
And then we get to Ant-Man. Again, pretty decent. Paul Rudd does pretty good.
A small but unexpected surprise.
Mm-hmm. And
Luis is my favorite character.
But the best part of this movie are the effects. No, not just the ones where Ant-Man shrinks down. Those are pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But the main thing the main effects that sells this, the beginning.
Absolutely.
Michael Douglas.
Mm-hmm. That should have been nominated for Best Visual Effects in my book.
Yeah.
And thus we conclude this part with we're going there, huh? Of all the movies to conclude this part, why did it have to be this movie?
Oh God.
Fant Four Stick.
Oh my God.
It was a mess from the start.
Mm-hmm. Personally, now I know I see the word personally, but I'm sorry about that. But personally, again, I don't hate Fant Four Stick. The first two acts are actually pretty intriguing. But then the minute the words 1 year later appear on screen, everything just tumbles down.
Yeah, and worst of all, it just becomes a waste of time.
Yeah. And just Trank, what happened to you, man? You had a promising start with Chronicle, but then you did this movie, and then Capone last year. What happened to you?
I don't know. I mean, well, I'd still blame Fox for the mess that was Fan Four Stick. I can't deny that this just like it's just I'm disappointed that this was Josh Trank's next film.
Yeah.
I think it's because he's not a fan of the material as Tim Story.
Hmm.
Not to mention, the thing was streaking through the quad and into the gymnasium.
And that concludes this second part of the Marvel retrospective. Tune in to next episode where we go over the rest of the Marvel movies from Deadpool all the way on to the New Mutants. But for now, we're gonna bid a bittersweet goodbye to a animation studio that's been in the slums recently and always in it going bankrupt.
It's due to the coronavirus.
Blue Sky Studios.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's I'm gonna rank all 13 of the films from worst to best. And now, so number 13 is pretty obvious. Ice Age colonoscopy course.
I'm surprised 12, they added in hashtag references in a prehistoric story.
Yeah, I'm surprised as well.
Yeah, really. Number 12, Ice Age Continental Drift.
At least number we 11. Had Patrick Stewart voice in the end.
Yeah. He still wasn't enough to save that mediocrity, though. Number 11, Rio 2. Number 10, Ice Age 2, The Meltdown. Number 9 is Rio. Number 8, you're all gonna hate this. Number 8, The Peanuts movie.
I respect your opinion.
Yeah, I'm glad. Number 7 is
I respect your opinion too.
Number 6, Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs. Number 5, Horton Hears a Who.
That's pretty good.
Number 4 is Spies in Disguise. Number 3 is Robots. Number 2, The First Ice Age. And number 1, the most underrated film for me, Epic.
I loved Epic.
Epic was very good.
Mm-hmm. So what about you two? Do you have rankings?
Well, I would like to say that the Ice Age sequels that aren't the first two sequels are at the bottom, then the Rio franchise, then Spies in Disguise, then the first Ice Age, then Horton Hears a Who, then Ferdinand, then Spies in Disguise, and Epic at the top.
As for me, well, obviously my favorite is the Peanuts movie, and then my second favorite is Horton Hears a Who, and then third would be a tie between Ice Age 1 and 2. And then in fourth place would be Epic, and then in fifth, and then ranking in fifth place, I'm only doing top 5 best for me, and then ranking in fifth place would be the first Rio movie.
Okay. Now then, with all that said,
did you know that Blue Sky Studios, before they made these movies, did visual effects for films such as The Prince of wrong movie. Mouse Hunt, Alien Resurrection, and Fight Club?
I know that.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Anyways, with all that said, let's get down to the main event, shall we?
Yes.
We are going to give 2020 a bittersweet. We are going to give 2020 its final farewell by talking about the top 20, or in next case, top 10 best films of 2020.
Usually, yes. Usually, I would do a top 20 best, but because of the coronavirus pandemic, but because of the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, which caused many movies to get delayed to 2021 or 2022, and because I only saw 72 movies in 2020, that's why I'm doing a top 10 list for the best movies that I saw in 2020 with 10 honorable mentions. I should add. Now, like I said last time with the worst of lists, this is just our personal opinions on what this is just our subjective list on what Soren and I consider to be the best movies that either Soren or I saw in 2020 were. You may disagree if you disagree, that's totally okay. But please do not be a jerk about it by saying, oh you like that movie? Well you have shit taste about it. We already had an atrocious first 2 months. Please be respectful of our opinions.
Yeah.
You gotta respect the group.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, really. So I guess I should present with the honorable mentions, huh? My honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get this all fired up. Good thing I have Letterboxd because well, these were the movies that I consider great, but they didn't quite make the list yet. But I still love them though. I still love these movies, and I think they are worthwhile. These are the movies that, as for the honorable mentions, these were the movies that didn't quite make it to the top 10, but I still consider them great movies nevertheless. And you guys should definitely check out these ones nevertheless. Starting with The King of Staten Island, easily, in my opinion, the funniest movie I've seen in 2020. Next, Emma, a wonderful period piece film based on Jane Austen's novel of the same name to bring to the new generation, featuring Anya Taylor-Joy and Mia Goth giving out terrific performances and chemistry. Next, The Assistant. Now, many of you never heard of this film, and because it only got a limited release before the pandemic hit, but I think it's a wonderful movie. This is not, the trailers did project it as being like a typical thriller, when it's really more of 82 minutes of like a drama of a one day in a film studio office with a little bit of hints of little bit of hints of thriller pushed into it. All I could say is this is a wonderful movie. Katie Green did a wonderful job with this film, and for her first movie, she did an incredible job. And this is like this is like the the Harvey Weinstein sexual harassment allegations he was facing, but only but it's really only like one day in the office with a little bit of with a little bit of the of a thriller where somebody was harassed in the office, thrown into it. And Julia Garner absolutely delivers a terrific performance in the film. I highly recommend checking out The Assistant. It's a great movie. And then I won't get into more details with the last ones, but next up, The Possessor, a wonderful, a fucked up but amazing film directed by David Cronenberg's son, Brandon Cronenberg, featuring one of the best breakthrough performances from last year by Andrea Rosenberg. I think that's how you pronounce it. If not, I do apologize. Next, David Fincher's Mank. Then we have Christopher Nolan's Tenet. Not my favorite that he's done, but still a great movie, nevertheless. And then my favorite horror film of the year, The Invisible Man, directed by Lee Winnell. Kelly Reichardt's First Cow. The Climb. And finally, this one was very close to being in the top 10. Spike Lee's The Five Bloods.
Nice. Now, as for my honorable mentions, these are pretty much movies I'd rank 7 out of 10 or higher. Before I get to number 20 to number 11, here are these honorable mentions. The Witches, Mulan, Wonder Woman 1984, Bill and Ted Face the Music, The Old Guard, Extraction, Project Power, The Willoughbys, Marini's Black Bottom, One Night in Miami, The Way Back, Let 'Em Go, The Climb, Sonic the Hedgehog, Birds of Prey, Freaky, Pieces of a Woman, and the one that almost made the top 20, The Five Bloods.
Nice. So
Now,
you'll do your 20 through 11, and then when we reach the top 10, I'll join in.
Okay. So number 20 is Kajillionaire. Number 19, On the Rocks. Number 18, The King of Staten Island. Number 17, The Gentleman. Number 16, The Father. Number 15, Bad Boys for Life. Number 14, The Invisible Man. Number 13, The Hunt. Number 12, News of the World. And rounding out 20 to 11, The Midnight Sky.
Nice. Okay, so we're going to talk about our top 10 movies that Soren and I saw in 2020. So, Soren, floor is all yours, buddy.
My number 10 is a movie that pretty much came out of nowhere, and that is Borat's subsequent movie film.
Very nice.
Very nice.
From what I hear, this was always meant to be. In fact, a lot of it has been shot prior to COVID's inception. But once it hit America, the filmmakers must have been like, maybe we can incorporate it into the script. Maybe we can make this comic. Maybe we could make this the ultimate comic relief America needs at this difficult time. And it was both. And it was.
At least it's more tasteful than Songbird.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
And Maria Bakalova, give her an Oscar nomination, please, because she steals the show. And the ending, you'll just have your jaw drop to the floor. Anyways, my number 10 is Borat's subsequent movie film.
Okay, so my number 10 is the movie that came out Christmas Day, and of course, I have to mention this director since he's made some really good movies before, and this is definitely up there with one of one of the best that I saw for him. Number 10 is Paul Greengrass's News of the World. I really do love westerns, and this was a really good western movie that he did. As a movie about a Civil War veteran who must return a young girl who was taken in by Native Americans as a little girl to her last remaining family. This was absolutely one of the most moving, riveting, and powerful films I've seen this entire year. Tom Hanks is so good in this movie, but it's Helena Zengo that delivers such a wonderful performance. She plays Joanna in the film, and she is absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible in this movie. Please give her the Best Supporting Actress nomination. She absolutely deserves it. And the film has amazing production values and costume design. The story's terrific. The writing is terrific. The directing by Paul Greengrass is terrific. And without spoiling the ending, without spoiling what happens at the end, let's just say it's one of the most moving endings I've seen put to film this entire year.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's all I can say for News of the World. News of the World was amazing, powerful, riveting, and moving, and features some great performances and chemistry by Tom Hanks and Helena Zengo. I also forgot to mention the chemistry. The chemistry between Tom Hanks and Helena Zengo was absolutely terrific. Since you could really feel like since you could really feel like that they're really friends. That's why the chemistry worked. So yeah, number 10, News of the World. Well done, Paul Greengrass.
As for my number 9, the past few years has been giving us some compelling foreign films about family. 2018 had Roma, 2019 had the groundbreaking Parasite, and now 2020 has Minari.
I'll talk about that later, because it's in my top 3.
Like those two movies, this movie deals with compelling themes, gave us some luscious cinematography, and brought some great actors into the spotlight. So, kudos to you guys. So, number 9 is, I would say more, but I think Nick pretty much has everything to say. So, number 9 is Minari.
All right, number 9 on the list is one of the most overlooked films I saw from last year, and Soren mentioned it on the list. I was looking forward to seeing this one, and by golly, was I blown away by this one. Number 9 is Kajillionaire. Directed by
Rachel
Miranda
Wood
July.
did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Evan Rachel Wood did a great job.
She did. She was great in the movie, but it's Gina Rodriguez that also steals the show. She was terrific. Now a movie where Evan Rachel Wood's character is being raised by a family who scams people. That seems odd in concept, but it's how it was executed that made it such a great experience. Aside from Ever Rachel Wood and Gina Rodriguez giving out terrific performances, Richard Jenkins and Deborah Winger also give out great performances in the film too. The characters are great, the story was great, the writing was sharp, the directing was fantastic. It's very well shot. It's also very funny, and on top of that, it also contains one of the best endings I've seen put to film this entire year. Again, I don't want to spoil what happens, but for those who saw the ending, you know what I'm talking about. So overall, Kajillionaire was definitely one of the best movies I saw from 2020. It's funny, it's moving, it's riveting, it's well acted, and while it could feel weird at times, it's still a wonderful and entertaining experience I'll never ever forget. Easily deserving of the number 9 spot. Well done, Miranda July. Well done, ever Rachel Wood, and well done to everybody involved with the film. Well done.
Now, my number 8 is the love letter to one of the greatest movies of all time, Citizen Kane in David Fincher's Mank. This movie really takes you back to the 30s, from its production value to its music to even to the sound editing. Gary Oldman and Amanda Seyfried delivered two of the best performances of the year, and they should seriously get some Oscar consideration for sure. At first, David Fincher was my pick for Best Director until I saw another movie that we'll get to in the top 3. Anyways, my number 8 is Mank.
All right. So my number 8 is the only Amazon Studios film on the list, and at first I was a bit hesitant to see this one, but after hearing so many great things about this one, and after hearing so many praises that the film was getting, including my friend Soren here, who's going to talk about the film in a little bit when we get to it, I had to see this one for myself, and my God, I cannot be more happy that I saw this one. Number 8 is Sound of Metal.
Well, I'll be talking about that later on.
I just have to go to the restroom.
Okay.
All right. Sound of Metal was absolutely terrific. I really, really love this movie very much. Gosh, where do I begin with this one? Well, first of all, I love the story, and I was also very surprised that this was directed by Darius Motter, who this marked the first time that he's directing a movie, and he did an incredible job directing this one. The way he directs this movie, you could clearly see the vision he's trying to go for with this film, and it really works so well. The story, while it is a bit hard to watch at times because since it's dealing with a hard rock drummer who loses his hearing, it was actually very, very interesting and riveting to watch. And because of how well developed the characters are in the film, not only did they feel like real people, but you could also relate to them as well, including Riz Ahmed's character, who he easily deserves the Best Actor nomination. He was terrific. He was terrific as the drummer who loses his hearing. He gives out one of the best performances I've seen this entire from last year. Olivia Cooke is also terrific in this film too, as well as Paul Raci. I think that's how you pronounce it. If not, then I do apologize. I also was amazed by the script. Even though Derek Cianfrance was really the story, wrote the story to this, I was amazed at the script by him, as well as Darius and Abraham Motter. I was very amazed by how well written the script was and how honest it was too. And I also got to mention, this has one of the best sound designs I've ever heard in a motion picture this entire year. Like, it's just unbelievable, like, with how they were able to pull this out sound design with this film. And on top of that, it also has one of the best endings I've ever seen put to film this entire year. Again, I don't want to spoil what happens for those who haven't seen it, but for those who have, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, Sound of Metal was fantastic. Not only does it have Riz Ahmed giving out one of the most electrifying and powerful performances I've seen this entire year, but it's also one of the most powerful, electrifying, and riveting films I've seen this entire year as well. Yeah, Sound of Metal easily deserves a number 8 spot. Without a doubt. Number 8.
My number 7 is, ironically, The Trial of the Chicago 7.
That's also my number 7.
Huh. Funny. First, I think this is the movie that we need right now, especially considering the whole Black Lives Matter movement. Aaron Sorkin has already proven himself as one of the best writers working today with films like A Few Good Men, The Social Network, Steve Jobs, etc. And after this and Molly's Game, I'm hyped to see what he does next in the director's chair. All the actors in this movie are spot on, especially Sacha Baron Cohen and Frank Langella and Mark Rylance and what's his name? They all give spectacular performances, and the editing of this movie, it really it keeps you hooked from the beginning all the way up to the end, all the way up to the final shot. So number 7 is funny enough, The Trial of the Chicago 7. No pun intended.
All right, so I have the same number 7 as Soren, and it is The Trial of Chicago 7. Aaron Sorkin is not only one of the best writers working today, but I think he's starting to become one of the best filmmakers working. I've seen working today too. He knows how to write sharp and witty dialogue as well as how to keep you invested in the story too, and that's really what I really loved about The Trial of Chicago 7. Was that how it keeps you invested in the story. And that's something I have to praise Aaron Sorkin for, his wonderful writing and wonderful directing. Both his writing and directing in the film was absolutely spectacular, and I cannot praise him enough for that. He did a wonderful job, and he deserves the best director and best writing, best screenplay nomination, and the acting is terrific. From Yahya Abdul Mateen II.
That's who it is. That's the name I was thinking of.
Yeah, he was terrific in the film too. Daniel Flaherty. Again, if that's not how I pronounce it, I do apologize. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Michael Keaton, John Carroll Lynch, Eddie Redmayne, Noah Robbins, Mark Rylance, Alex Sharp, and Jeremy Strong are both terrific. But actually, aside from Mark Rylance, who gives out my favorite performance in the whole film, you also have Sacha Baron Cohen, who gives out one of his very best performances in the film, as well as Frank Langella, who is such an evil bastard in the film. But his performance really was fantastic. This is one of those movies where the performer is fantastic, but the character is something that you would love to hate because of how much of a bastard and how much of an evil bastard he is. And I got to give props to Frank Langella for his wonderful performance too. The soundtrack is great. The cinematography was terrific. It has amazing production values and costume design, since it feels like you're back in the 1960s. Since it feels like you're back in 1968. I'm sorry. The editing is terrific. The story was very powerful and interesting. It's very well paced throughout, and overall, this movie was absolutely powerful. It is one of the most powerful. The Trial of Chicago 7 is one of the most powerful, compelling, and riveting films I've seen this entire year, and it absolutely deserves, ironically, the number 7 spot. The Trial of Chicago 7 is easily one of the best films of 2020, easily deserving of the number 7 spot. Well done, Aaron Sorkin.
So after 2019's unplanned butchered the themes of abortion, I thought that there was nowhere to go but up for these kinds of movies. So thanks, Never Rarely, Sometimes Always, for proving me right. Thanks.
Soren, you're not going to believe this. That's my number 6 as well.
The stars are aligned.
Yeah.
The stars are not in position for this tribute.
This is basically about the hardships of a young woman's choice, told in a realistic and subtle way, with Sidney Flanagan giving it her all to a hopeful Oscar nomination.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that's it. I pretty much have to say. I think Nick and Neil pretty much has everything to say. So,
Oh, indeed, I do. To upcoming filmmakers out there, this is how you should make a movie that covers a very sensitive subject such as abortion. Do it in an honest, realistic, and respectful manner, and that's what Never Really Sometimes Always succeeds at.
mhm.
I'm looking at you, pure flits, or as I
Yeah.
like to call you, pure fucks.
If it weren't, I'll just say that Playing with Hellfire was my worst film of 2019 until that cinematic abortion, no pun
Yeah,
intended.
Yeah, really. I don't blame you for naming it the worst one in 2019 because, goddamn, that unplanned movie is awful. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying about Never Really Sometimes Always. This is a movie that really stuck with me the most. And originally, this was originally my number one film I saw in 2020 until I saw 5 more movies that were even greater that I loved even more than Never Really Sometimes Always. But it was nevertheless one of the best movies I saw from 2020. With its amazing performance by Sydney Flanagan. Seriously, she absolutely deserves an Oscar nomination for her performance. As well as a wonderful writing and directing by Eliza Hittman. Amazing cinematography, soundtrack, editing, and the story where it keeps you fully invested because of how realistic and interesting it felt. Never Really Sometimes Always is just absolutely amazing, and it's just I never saw the director's last movie she directed, which was on Beach Rats, but I heard great things about it, which is why I do want to give it a watch someday whenever I get a chance. So yeah, I cannot wait to see what Eliza Hittman does next. She did an incredible job making this movie. She really did an incredible job. Overall, Never Really Sometimes Always is one of the most moving, powerful, and riveting films I've seen this entire year too. Carried by also one of the best performances of the year by Sydney Flanagan. All I can say is I cannot wait to see. Well done, Eliza Hittman. Well done, Sydney Flanagan. And well done to everybody involved. I cannot wait to see what you and the others do next. That's why it easily deserves the number 6 spot. And like I said, this is how you make a movie that covers the subject of abortion in an honest, realistic, and respectful manner. Don't. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, when it does throw the message about abortion, it doesn't shove it down our throats. Like, it doesn't shove it down our throats, unlike what Unplanned did. Rather, it drives the story forward and it keeps it in an honest, realistic, and respectful manner. That's what Never Really Sometimes Always. That's what I really loved about Never Really Sometimes Always. It is just amazing. Easily one of the best movies I saw from 2020 and absolutely deserving of the number 6 spot.
And as for my number 5, Carey Mulligan may have been snubbed for Best Supporting Actress for Shame. Let me guess. We both have the same number 5.
Yep.
As I was saying, she might just bring home Best Actress for Promising Young Woman. Talk about a stylish revenge thriller. Emerald Fennell gave us her own with her superb direction, cinematography, and soundtrack and great writing, only enough to an ending that will just leave you speechless. And again, at Carey Mulligan, I'm tied between this and Shame as her best performance. If she doesn't win for this movie, I honestly won't complain because there was also Viola Davis for Ma Rainey and her in the top 3.
Right. So, yeah, I have, as you guys probably didn't notice, I have the same number 5 as Soren. Number 5 is Promising Young Woman. This was a great experience. I didn't. This is one of those movies where I knew it was going to be good going in, but I did not expect to love it this much. the fact that they took one of the most controversial like subjects that's going on in the world today, and yet somehow make the story of the subject it's talking about interesting, and dare I say it, funny as well. That's something I gotta give huge credit to Emerald for now with. She did an incredible job with not only directing this movie, but with the way she wrote the script for the film, since it's one of the most sharp and witty and well written scripts I've seen put to film this entire year. Since it's both with amazing dialogue, great character development, and great humor too. The acting is absolutely terrific. Carey Mulligan needs to get that Best Actress nomination right away. This is her best performance she's given out in her career. She was terrific. Bo Burnham was terrific, as was Alison Brie, Clancy Brown, Jennifer Coolidge, and it has a wonderful soundtrack. The cinematography was terrific. The editing was terrific. It's very well paced throughout. And not only did I find the story to be very interesting and gripping, as well as intriguing, but it also has one of the best endings I've seen put to film this entire year. Again, I don't want to spoil what happens, but for those who saw the ending to Promising Young Woman, you'll know what I'm talking about, because I did not expect it to go in that direction, yet it did, and I cannot praise the ending enough. Overall, Promising Young Woman is powerful, entertaining, funny, and absolutely riveting, featuring one of the best performances of the year by Carey Mulligan, without a doubt. And it absolutely deserves a number 5 spot. I cannot wait to see when Emerald Fennell is next.
Yeah. My number 4 is a movie I never thought would just miss the top 3. Probably because 2 of the 3 movies that I just heard about late last year. That doesn't mean that Tenet's not still damn good. Christopher Nolan's
That's a great movie.
Christopher Nolan's always been an experimental filmmaker, so taking him on a kinda, sorta, not really time travel is the perfect thing for him. Some of the best music of the year, some of the best action of the year, which makes it really sad that it bombed as hard as it did. So my number 4 is Tenet.
Yeah, that's a great movie. It's not my favorite of the Christopher Nolan movies, but Tenet was great.
I loved it too, particularly the time version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was amazing. Number 4. This was a movie that number 4. This was a movie that Soren mentioned on his list, and I saw this yesterday. And when I was looking forward to seeing this was another film I was looking forward to seeing ever since I first heard about it. And my God, this movie was absolutely moving and emotionally realistic. Number 4 is The Father.
Really good movie. Anthony
I love this movie.
Anthony Hopkins or Chadwick Boseman are the front runners to win Best Actor.
He honestly deserves the Best Actor Oscar, in my opinion, because and I'll explain why in just a bit. As a movie that covers the subject of dementia, The Father is one of the most powerful, riveting, moving, and emotionally realistic films I had ever seen. Not only is the story moving and terrific, but the script was terrific. I should mention the director or writer of this movie is from France. Yeah, his name is Florian Zeller, and this was based on his play called La Pierre. That's what The Father is based on. Not only is the story very interesting and moving, but the script was fantastic. It's one of the best written films I've seen put to film this entire year. And Florian Zeller also delivers one of the best directed movies I've seen this entire year too. The acting is absolutely terrific. As I mentioned, Anthony Hopkins is my pick to win Best Actor, and here's why. The way he portrayed a character who is suffering through dementia was absolutely powerful and exhilarating. This is one of his very, very best performances. And you could feel the emotion of Anthony Hopkins' character as he's suffering through dementia. And that's another reason why I also think it's one of the best films of the year. For anybody who ever has a relative that's like suffering through dementia, you're going to relate to this movie just as much as I did. You see, my grandmother my grandmother right now is at a home right now. She has been suffering through dementia since like a couple years ago in 2019. And that's why the movie like connected to me a lot. Grammy, if you're watching this, I love you very much, and I'm really hoping you get better, because we love you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bravo, Anthony Hopkins. You delivered my favorite performance of the year. Olivia Colman, coming off her surprising Oscar win in The Favorite, is also terrific in this movie too. And the chemistry between Olivia Colman and Anthony Hopkins works, since you really feel like that they are both father and daughter in the film. Not to mention Mark Gatiss, Imogen Poots, Rufus Sewell. I'm sorry if this isn't the way to pronounce it, but as well as Olivia Williams, they were all terrific in the film too. The musical score is haunting and beautiful. The cinematography was terrific. The editing was terrific. It's very well paced throughout. For a movie that's like 97 minutes, it actually flew by for me. I actually did not want it to end. And on top of that, it also contains one of the most emotional and powerful endings I've ever seen put to film this entire year. Like, when it ended, I nearly broke down in tears. It was that emotional. Overall, The Father is easily one of the year's very best films. It's one of the most powerful, moving, riveting, and emotionally realistic films I've seen this entire year. And not to mention one of the most relatable films of the year too, since, like I said, for anybody who has a relative that's suffering through dementia, you're going to relate to this movie as much as I did. This is a wonderful film, and I cannot wait to hear everybody else's thoughts on the film when this gets released in more areas starting next Friday. So yeah, The Father easily deserves the number 4 spot. I cannot wait to see what Florian Zeller does next.
As for my number 3, 2020 was a pretty disappointing year in animation, was it? I mean, Onward was Trolls World Tour was disappointing. Scoob and Spuns on the Run are total suckers. But then, right at the last minute, Pete Docter swooped in and gave it an animated masterpiece that is funny, heartfelt, and thought-provoking. Pixar's Soul.
That's my number 3.
I loved it too.
Now the concept of going through the afterlife is nothing new. But what Pete Docter did best is take a concept that has been done and put a different spin on it. Both Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey are fantastic. The music's fantastic. The animation's fantastic. Everything is just fantastic. So if you haven't seen Soul, do yourself a favor. Stop watching this video. Go on Disney Plus. Pirate it. Whatever. I don't care. Go watch Soul. That's my number 3.
I would say watch it on Disney Plus, but I have the same number 3 as Soren, and let me tell you, it was like the same experience I had with The Father. I almost cried as I watched this movie. Now, I do agree with Soren. The concept for Soul is nothing new. I mean, we did see it. We do see the story like done in other films before, but it's how it was executed that made it one of the best movies I've seen this entire year. And of course, with a director like Pete Docter, who's made some. This is now the fourth movie he's made, which I consider a masterpiece. Oh, and hello, Ethan. Welcome to the podcast. Hope you're enjoying it. Anyway, as I was saying, Pete Docter has made 4 movies that I consider all of them masterpieces: Monsters Inc., Up, Inside Out, and now Soul. He's not only my favorite animation director working today, he's one of my favorite directors working today too. Pete Docter really knows how to craft movies like this, how to craft movies that although simple have stories that are not only relatable but very interesting as well. And that's what I found it very interesting about the story of Soul, the fact that it's the story of the afterlife, and it's just, I found it to be very interesting and engaging. The script was fantastic. Pete Docter did a wonderful job directing this one. The voice acting is terrific. Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey are both terrific. The animation is one of the best I've ever seen from Pixar. I mean, how they animated the movie was absolutely terrific. Absolutely terrific. This also has my favorite musical score of the year, composed by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. If they do not get the best musical score Oscar, if the Oscars do not nominate them, nor have them win best original score, something is wrong.
Then again, depending on what's nominated, they do have a 2/5 chance, since they both did Soul and
Mank.
Yes. So
yeah. The editing is terrific. It's very well paced throughout. And what really made me put this at number 3 is how it's not only the emotional ending, but its message about life. I won't spoil it, but for those who saw the film's ending and message, you probably know where I'm going with this. It is absolutely one of the best. It is absolutely one of the best uses of that of message about life I've ever seen put to film. So yeah, overall, Soul is my favorite animated film of 2020. It's emotional, it's riveting, it's moving, it's entertaining, it's funny, and it was just overall an exhilarating experience. I absolutely love Soul. That's why I also have the same number 3 as Soren. So Soul is my third favorite movie of 2020. I really wish it could have been number 1, but number 2 and number 1 moved me more like no other film did in 2020.
As for my number 2, we all love a good road trip movie, right? Like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Rayman, and National Lampoon's Vacation. Well, here comes one of those movies that just so happens to be my runner-up on this list, Nomadland.
I'll talk about that in a little bit.
I mean, how can I not put it this high? I have heard nothing but praise for this movie, which could mean one of two things. Either A, it lives up to the hype tenfold, or it's just another overhyped Oscar bait film. Thankfully, it was the former. This was an experience. Seeing Frances McDormand as she travels the country to find her calling and interact with all these realistic characters and studying cinematography. And if Chloe Zhao does win an Oscar for this movie, that would make me more excited for the Eternals than I already am. So, my number 2 is Nomadland.
I'll talk about that in a little bit, but well, it's kind of spoilery, but you guys know where it will be on my list. Anyway, number 2, Soren mentioned it on his list, and at like 10 or 9, and it's my number 2. I did not think this film would rank in the top 2. I mean, but it did. Number 2 is my favorite A24 film of the year, Minari.
Very good movie.
I love this movie. It is one of the most emotionally compelling and unforgettably moving films I've seen this entire year. I mean, in 2018 we had Roma. Last year we had Parasite, and now for 2020 we have Minari. I love that we're getting more films like this. And and as a movie that follows a South Korean family who migrate to the United States to try and make it in a Arkansas farm during the 1980s. This was an unforgettable experience. This was such an unforgettable experience, and the way Lee Isaac Chung not only directed but wrote the movie, I got to give him huge props for this, because the writing was absolutely spectacular, since it's filled with characters that you could relate, that feel real, fleshed out, and those that you could relate to them. And how Lee Isaac Chung directed this movie is also incredible too, since you could clearly see the vision he's trying to go for with this film and put to screen, and it worked so well with this one. The story was fantastic and engaging. The acting is terrific. Steven Yeun gives out what is quite possibly my favorite performance of his career, and he absolutely deserves the Best Actor nomination for his wonderful performance. And to those who's and just to keep in mind, this is a film from America. Even though they do speak in a different language. It's like what The Farewell was. It's made in America, and it should not be considered a best foreign language film nomination, despite them speaking in a different language. Again, I didn't want to sound like how should I put this?
You're discriminating?
Right, thank you. I didn't want to sound discriminating, but it's just like it was made here in the United States, and despite the fact that they speak Korean in the film, they do speak English in the film, and it's a film that was made here in America, just even due to the fact that that they also speak Korean in the film too, which again I didn't want to sound discriminatory, but I know I'm rambling a lot. I'm sorry. Steven Yeun is terrific. This is one of the best performances I've seen from an actor this entire year. All the other actors are terrific too, including Han Yi Ri, Alan Kim, Noel K. Cho, Young Jung. I do apologize if I mispronounced that. Will Patton, Scott Hayes, and Daryl Kotz. They're all terrific in the film too, as well as Esther Moon. Yeah, I also forgot to mention the actress that played the grandmother in the film gives out one of the best performances I've seen from last year too. She was so funny, and she was so riveting and also so relatable that you could swear that that this is one of those movies where if you have a grandmother that's like that, you could also be like, hey, that's like my grandmother too, or my grandfather. The musical score is terrific. It's beautifully shot. The cinematography is beautiful. The editing is terrific. It's very well paced throughout. It's also very funny. Like when they do have the humor in the film, it hits home very well because of how sharp and witty it is. the humor is in the film. And on top of that, it also contains one of the best endings I've seen put to film this entire year too. The last 10 minutes of the film are some of the most emotional and powerful filmmaking I've ever seen put to film this entire year. Overall, Minari was a wonderful experience. Minari was a wonderful experience. It's one of the most Young plays the grandmother in the film. She deserves the Best Supporting Actress nomination. She was terrific. To say that Minari is one of the best films of 2020 would be an understatement. It's one of the most emotionally compelling and unforgettably moving films I've seen this entire year. If it wasn't for another film that Soren mentioned that's his number 2, this would have been my number 1 film of the year. But my number 1 favorite movie of 2020 was more of an experience than like any other film, an emotional experience than any other film that I've seen in 2020. But I'll talk about that as soon as Soren finishes. As soon as Soren talks about his number 1. So Minari, number 2 on the list. Well done, A24, and to everybody involved with the film. Well done.
Mm-hmm. My number 1. There have been a lot of good movies this year. There are a few great movies this year. There may have even been masterpieces this year. But there's this one movie that pretty much spoke to me. One movie that completely floored me and left me speechless during the end credits. It is this year's answer to Whiplash, and it is Sound of Fucking Metal. No other movie this year has left me this astonished. And what could it be? Could it be Riz Ahmed's Oscar-winning performance as a drummer forced to leave his long life dream? Could it be that we're with him losing his hearing by the stellar sound editing? Could it be Darius Smarter's excellent direction? Could it be the ending that makes you think long after it plays out? Or could it be all of the above? Probably the latter. Regardless,
it's all the above.
Uh-huh. Regardless, Sound of Metal is a movie that absolutely everyone should see, and it is hands down my favorite movie of 2020.
Alright, so well, it should come as no surprise with my number 1. Soren pretty much explained it, and yeah. My number 1 favorite movie of 2020 was the movie I saw last weekend with my mom, and to say that this is my favorite movie of 2020 would be an understatement. It was one of the most unforgettable experiences that I've ever seen in a motion picture. My number 1 favorite movie of 2020 is Nomadland. No film in 2020 moved me and hit me like a ton of bricks like the way Nomadland did. It is a masterpiece in filmmaking and storytelling. As a film about Fern, played by Frances McDormand, who embarks on a journey to the American West after losing everything during the recession, Nomadland is one of the most extraordinary films and one of the most beautiful, emotional, riveting, and moving films I've ever seen in my life. And this movie really spoke to me with how it portrays the story of like what it means to be like homeless and where do you go from there when where do you go when you lose everything. And before I do mention that, I want to mention what I really loved about this movie. The story was absolutely fascinating and engaging. Chloe Zhao did a wonderful job with not only the way she wrote the script, but with the way she directed the movie too. You could clearly see the vision she's trying to go for with the film, and it absolutely succeeds very much. The acting is terrific. Frances McDormand delivers my favorite performance of the year. She is so incredible in the film. David Heron, I do apologize if I mispronounced that, but he was terrific too. He plays David in the film, and he's absolutely terrific too. And all the other people did a wonderful job too. Like like including Swanky, Bob Wells, Lily May, Derek Endress, and Peter Spears. And let me tell you, watching Nomadland felt like I was watching a documentary, and a great documentary too, because how Chloe Zhao was able to structure like this as if it looks as if like you're watching an actual documentary. It is absolutely terrific. And by the way, I should mention this. All the other extras and people that Francis McDormand like and David's characters come along to, they're all real nomad people. They're all real people. And I gotta I gotta I gotta seriously applaud Chloe Zhao for creating such a wonderful story and making it look like a great documentary too. It's just how she crafted the whole story was just absolutely engaging and beautiful. And speaking of beautiful, it has my favorite cinematography of the year. Not to mention the musical score is fantastic. The editing is terrific. It's very well paced. I know some people will have a problem with the slow burn pace in the film, which is understandable. But if you can handle the slow burn pace, if you can handle the slow pacing in the film, then you are in for one of the most extraordinary films that I've ever seen in my life. And the way the movie covers its message and subject of like what it means to be homeless and be thankful for what you have, that's something I gotta applaud Chloe Zhao for, because the way they handle the message and themes in that film is absolutely fascinating to watch. It's absolutely fascinating. It's very sad, but also fascinating. And when it ended, I literally broke down in tears. Like, I haven't had that experience like where I would break down crying ever since I saw A Star Was Born a couple years ago. That's how much Nomadland gave me such a wonderful experience like that. Yeah, Nomadland was a wonderful film. It's just, yeah, as I stated before, how they covered the subject of like what it feels like to be homeless, as well as this message of like be happy with what you have and help others when they need it. It's just nothing short of fast. It's just nothing short of fascinating and just very well done. Overall, Nomadland is one of the most extraordinary, beautiful, realistic, riveting, and moving films I've ever seen. And it is definitely my pick for the best movie that I saw in 2020. I cannot wait to see what Chloe Zhao does next. I know she's doing Eternals next, which I cannot wait to see. It's in my top 10 of 2021. And I cannot wait to see what she does next after Eternals. Yeah, Nomadland, without a doubt, easily deserves a spot as being my number one favorite movie of 2020. Well done, Chloe Zhao, Francis McDormand, and to everybody involved with the film. Well done. And that's it. That's the list. I had a lot of fun doing it. I hope you guys did. I hope you guys did too. And I think that'll do it for tonight's podcast. I do apologize that this is short, and I do apologize that we're doing this late. It's just I had a lot of things on my mind right now, and my sleep schedule has been off. And plus, I have a play I'm going to be watching in a half hour, so I do want to get to that very soon. But thank you guys very much for watching the 15th episode of the FilmBrony podcast. Be sure to subscribe to FilmBrony on his Boy Thunder Productions YouTube channel, and Christian Frates on his YouTube channel. Links are in the description down below. Give them the love they absolutely deserve. They're very talented people that I love and adore very much, since they're my good buddies. And until we meet again for episode 15 of the FilmBrony podcast, hope you guys have a wonderful night. We'll see you all again in March for episode 15. And until then,
Bye.
have a great night. And See you soon. Peace. Oh. Peace.